like to congratulate Alderman Holliday on his primary win. Very good job.
Thank you.
He worked very hard.
Thank you.
Resolution 2526-1, resolution adopting the minutes from the last common council meeting. Resolution 2526-2, resolution authorizing loan agreement with the New York State Military Naval Affairs Military Museum and Veteran Research Center. Alderman Holliday is going to move this, sponsor this for the mayor.
Mike, is there anything you want to say about this?
No, it's that plaque that's down that we've been very proud to display for many years, and we're very proud to continue displaying.
Wonderful.
Anybody got any questions about it? Okay. There's an agreement attached to it.
Is it $20,000 insurance?
Yes.
Okay, I think we need to add that because it says the second whereas.
I see it.
Yeah, it just needs to say that it's insurance, because I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, are they paying us $20,000? They are not. Providing that the service is
Insurance
maintained.
coverage after 20,000, please.
For plaque and insurance coverage?
No, maintain $20,000 insurance coverage for the plaque.
So we'll just need
Kelly, you want to make that amendment?
I'll make the motion.
Is
Or
it
yeah,
self-insured? Can we self-insure?
All right, resolution 2526-3, resolution authorizing equipment lease agreement with Cranesville Properties LLC. Irene is going to sponsor this for the mayor. Mayor, you have anything you want to say about this? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory.
well,
Anybody have any
yeah.
questions?
Is this the stuff that was was it still there that was just still owed by them, or?
Yes, this is,
Because
this is
Cassandra
equipment that
was
was
there?
rented by the previous concessionaire. We looked at it, looked at what it would cost to provide replacement equipment, and the lease arrangement seemed to be the most viable thing to do right now.
Yeah, it's already there. And then it just, a little typo, it should Cranesville. And there, not Cardsville.
When I reread it before it came up, I saw that.
We can just change that.
That's because of the tight turnaround you're
Well,
seeing.
you're right on it, Kelly.
That teacher, I guess.
You
What's
said you don't
what
like
you
to
do with
think
the
about
red pen,
those
Kelly,
days.
while you're at it?
I love a red pen. I love to edit things. I love to correct things.
Okay, resolution 2526-4, resolution approving audit, Alderwoman Collins.
Audit is fine.
Okay. We have two consent resolutions tonight. Alderman Marticello will not be joining us. I'm going to move these on his behalf. Resolution 2526-5, consent resolution authorizing the city clerk to advertise for bids for the 2025 demolition project. This is in relation to the $1.5 million to deal with the 27 properties, Mike, right? 23 properties. We've talked about this quite a few times. Anybody have any questions concerning this? Okay. Resolution 2526-6, resolution to renew property and liability insurance with Gallagher. I'm also going to move this. It's a resolution safeguards for the city from incurring substantial costs from losses related to property damage and liability. There's a chart on the reverse side that shows what it had gone up 11.18%. In 2024, it was 636,930. This year it's 708,168. Louise can expand on this, but I was told that it could have been a lot worse, and the number is.
We were expecting, we budgeted.
The number is decent.
So we were
Louise,
happy.
do you have anything you want to add to this?
Not necessarily. I just apologize once again that this is so last minute. It just took a little bit longer because of changing brokers. And we did the total property values. They did include the streetlights. Now that we own the streetlights, we had to get those added. So there were some, significant changes that needed to be made, but.
So there's some
also-
additional cost which would explain why.
Well, that would explain some of the
Some of
increase,
it.
but for the largest reason for the increase is our claims history.
Sure.
But everyone, it was in agreement that it could have been a lot worse, and everyone.
It was an increase of 100,000 last year, correct?
Yes.
So
And would
I
you
was
say that
surprised.
our-
I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Right.
Would you say that our inventory list is up to date? Because I know that was one thing you improved a couple years ago was what we
Yeah,
actually own.
we're actually gonna go through it much closer, now that we've got the renewal in place, but yes, we went through and did a preliminary review of all our structures. Mike Clark helped me with that, so
So they'll still accept adjustments?
it's in good shape, but we're gonna go through and look at some things a little more closely
Awesome.
over the next few months.
Yeah, I know that's been something you all worked really hard on in the past.
Anyone have any more questions for Elise? Okay. That takes care of the resolutions, very short tonight. Going on
Executive
to,
session, sorry, 'cause, at the end of the meeting, I would ask for an executive session, to discuss prospective and pending litigation.
okay. Going on to our committee as a whole agenda, there was no golf commission, there was a golf commission meeting, I don't have the minutes in front of me. I was having surgery the next day, so I don't really have any updates to speak of. And there was, the recreation committee there was no quorum. It was just updating us about the change in the policy for the pool, for 14 years old and a legal guardian or with them. Ward updates, Mike and I were at 127 North Matthias today for Habitat for Humanity. They put the foundation up. It was raining, but we made it through it. And it's very exciting to see, we often talk about project, blight and all that stuff and what we tear down. It's nice to see something going up for a change, and it's gonna be fantastic. Anybody else have anything that's all I have for the ward updates. Is there anybody else that wants to talk about their ward and things that are going on?
The pink house on Guy in Northampton,
Wow.
it's getting clean.
Yay.
So everything finally went
It
through
was
on
a
that. So
landmark day,
Yes.
And
a
they're-
landmark day.
we're working on it, so it's beautiful.
Things are moving,
Yeah,
there's
he's
activity.
moving very fast, and today he promised me that he would be starting the roof, tomorrow? I believe he said tomorrow, depending upon the weather. Just great. So-
What a difference in the property though, just to remove that part.
Right.
They're starting the street widening up not the
They
traffic calming up at the top of Church Street.
They are. There was an accident there. I don't know if Chief wants to talk about it.
Not really.
Okay. But it's a little congested, but it's good. It's nice to see that we're finally taking that on. Chief Spencer also had put a temporary speed sign down by Hawk Street on Church, and I think it's made a huge difference. The neighbors feel like that the traffic has slowed down. It's definitely helped with trucks slamming on their Jake brake and cars. Because I've often said that I don't think that people are speeding down that street on purpose. I think that they're just going with the flow of traffic, and it's a hill. And, when we learn how to drive, we look at red, yellow, green, and there's no reminders there to slow down, and that's been working. It certainly reminded me to slow down because I go down it all the time. That's really it for my ward. I know that Kelly wanted to discuss handicap parking, if you want to take over.
Okay,
All
thanks.
yours.
I know you have this in front of you. I used our resolution request form just to start to outline the process. So I had a constituent contact me looking for handicap parking in front of her residence. Her brother who lives with her is a client at Liberty, and they come and pick him up in one of the smaller buses every day. And they're kind of on a part of Locust Avenue where if their cars are parked on the other side of the street, the bus will stop in the middle of the street, and then people are driving around, and it kind of causes some stress and congestion during the times when there's not alternate parking. So she was wondering if she could have a handicap parking space in front of her house for that, so that there would be room for that bus to pull up and pull over. She went to the police department, and they referred her to her council members because while we do have handicap parking assigned in our charter or in our codes at specific spots, we don't really have a process. Like we have not given the police chief permission to do it, or given ourselves permission to do it. It just seems like it's kind of just something that I imagine in the past, if somebody asked for it, the council would or wouldn't pass a resolution authorizing it. Currently, in our code, there is only one spot. And there had previously been 2 spots, but there's a schedule of handicap parking zones, and the only spot is on the south side of Slater Street, directly in front of the Amsterdam Funeral Chapel. And so that was definitely passed at some point added, it looks like in 2002. So we have 2 options, which Mr. Casale shared with me as well, is that, the first option is just to lobby all of you to get this spot for my constituent and just give it to that constituent, or we create a process in which, if this is a need that people have, when they do go somewhere to their council member, to the police, to the mayor, and say, hey, this is a need I have, can you help me with this? There actually is a process for it. And I did some research on that, at a couple different municipalities that I could find that had it. Gloversville specifically, Saratoga Springs, they each have kind of 2 different, Gloversville is actually the more specific one, which was good, but basically it sets up a process of how people could ask for this and why. So that's the background behind it. And I thought we could discuss kind of the framework that we were comfortable with and then put it together going forward. My first thought was the Gloversville authorizes the police chief. I'm not sure if the police chief wants to be the person who decides this or not. I think he should be a part of it, but I don't know if you want to be the issuer of them. You do have a lot to do. So it would be that the city clerk is authorized to create a process to issue handicap parking spaces on city streets that can be applied for by city residents. The process would include, and it would be similar to like a special permit event permit where it goes to the clerk and then she brings in all the parties that are needed for the sign off. First, it would be verifying that someone at that residence qualifies for handicap parking. And I think we could just use the same guidelines that New York State uses in the issuances of handicap placards for cars, which the clerk is in charge of as well. So it would be that doctor's note or however it is. Or if they already had a placard from us, we'd know that they qualified for that and that they lived at that house would also be a verification as well. Consultation with the chief of police and the city engineer regarding the location of the space, if you had any concerns with where it was. And, whether it's a DPW concern, a police concern, if this is something that you had any, if there was some issue with the location, and then that the application meets the qualifications in the legislation, which I think we would then decide, do we want to say that those people they need to prove that they don't have access to a driveway or that there's no other way for them to safely get into their home or from their home to their car without this spot? Or are they getting picked up by an agency regularly in which they would need, or a school where they would need the bus to pull in and assist them in getting in? So I think we would want some kind of qualification for that, because I don't think every person needs a handicap parking space in front of their house if they have a handicap placard, because many people have driveways and parking lots, and probably most people don't want one, but something that would make it pertinent for them to have one on the street specifically near their house, as opposed to, just parking anywhere or using their driveway. So we would decide that. So then it didn't become like a political issue or just this person's nice or they really want it. We would have qualifications. So I wanted to get your ideas on what qualifications you would think it would need and specifications and any concerns, like the police chief or the engineer or the fire chief.
I had a couple just right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But you hit most of them on the alternate parking when that starts. We're gonna give them one on each side of the street.
No, yeah, that's the issue too.
So now how
Yeah.
you're gonna deal with that in the winter time. And then the only other thing was, yes, okay, we designated a handicap parking space on the street. Does that stop anyone else from a handicap placard coming up and parking there?
Mhm.
How do you deal with that? These are the only 2 things that popped in my head when you were just going through everything.
For the zones, I don't think that would be as much of an issue of the alternate parking. And then, yeah, I don't know what would happen in the case of if they actually needed that spot and alternate parking.
Is the one that you're referring to on Locust that the constituent came to, that's a pickup and a drop off? So it's
Yeah.
more of like a loading zone and not actually somebody parked there.
Right.
I
Right.
wonder if we could maybe use that for the alternate parking time of year. If it is just a loading,
Yeah.
on,
And
you
then
know,
people
stopping
could
there
get
while
out.
the hazards are on.
Right. That would make sense. Any other thoughts?
Well, there's gonna be costs related to this, the markings, who's gonna pay for that? The sign that has to go up if we decide it's going to be an actual handicap.
Yeah.
Those are all DPW.
We do have a signed
Are we
budget.
going to pay for it? We didn't want it, there's a person wanted it there.
I think it
So-
would be, I think it would be.
What's the
a city
Gloversville do?
expenditure. It would be a city
I
expenditure.
think it's a city expended, yeah. And we could apply a fee,
Like
but,
any other street signage, it would be a city expenditure.
and the strange thing, we talked about this, the sign budget is actually under your police line.
Yes, it is.
Do we
Let's
use
just take
it all every year, or I don't think we come close to.
It fluctuates, depends
Yeah.
on what types of projects we have going, and I do get various requests for signs throughout the year, signs and road striping. Keeping in the same vein of that, we have certain requests for signs, but we do, try to periodically check, does the person still live there? They don't always make notification, because it is keeping it clear in the winter, keeping the sign straight, keeping the sign readily available, because if the sign's there, but you can't read it, but then we issue a ticket to somebody, they're gonna have an affirmative defense, hey, if the road's not marked, or hey, I can't see the sign, or the sign's been defaced. Someone takes it, it has to be replaced, things like that.
Do we have more than just the one on Slater Street? That's in,
I think it's on Belmont.
or Belmont, excuse me,
Belmont.
Belmont, yeah. Maybe it used to be on Slate, maybe that one was revoked, I don't know, but either way.
Yes.
Is that the only
No,
one we
that's the
have?
only one that I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Referenced in the code, and to my recollection, there's never been a problem there. That's mostly for the business and
Right.
the funeral chapel operator.
Mhm.
There was one in Division that was put in the city code for a small business near Amsterdam Electric. I don't know if it was a hair salon or a dog grooming place, but I remember talking to Chief Thomas about that. And that was just some of the things that, like, the business wasn't even there, but it was still in our code. So
So we
it
took
might
it
have been
out,
cleaned up.
yeah.
Is that in any of them, like an annual check-in or just notify us if?
I do have under removal, the space is subject to removal once the qualifying person is no longer resides at the residence. Applicants are encouraged to inform the city of a change. The clerk is authorized to periodically review the list and make recommendations for removal. But it would be kind of a goodwill type thing, I think, in most cases, because I don't think we're gonna have so many that you're gonna need like every year to sit down and.
But then
Look at
how
them.
would, I mean, what would I do to see, do I send them a letter and say, hey, do you still live there? Because we'd have
Yeah.
to figure out,
Would it be part of
what
the
that would
process?
be.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, I mean, would we, when we kind of authorize people to create a process, the process doesn't necessarily have to be in the legislation. As far as,
What do you mean?
if she were like to send a letter to everybody as part of her process to see if people were, like, we wouldn't need to codify that. That could just be something that like the person
Right, I
who's
don't
given the
think- I don't
power to
think
create the
think
process could
each-
create.
Each and every step of the internal processes would not need to be codified, but you need to have enough. If you're going to codify, you need to have enough so the applicant, for lack of a better term, would know, here's where I go to make this
Mhm.
application, here's what I need to do.
Yeah.
So let me ask, if there is a sidewalk, would the sidewalk have to be changed to a ramp style sidewalk from the street? And if they don't have a sidewalk and it's just dirt, do we have to create one?
If we mark it, would we have to create it like legally, or if this is a spot they're parking in anyway, if they can get it?
I don't know how they handle handicaps.
Right.
I don't know what the guidelines are.
My question would be if we're gonna create a guideline to determine whether because you had said everyone with a placard wouldn't necessarily be eligible.
Yeah.
this may be a little more of a lawyer question, but by determining our own groupings for what would categorize as someone who'd be eligible for this, would that in any way, shape, or form go against ADA recommendations, right? And potentially open us up for some type of suit pertaining to, not fair, equitable practice.
So when I looked
You
at,
understand
when I researched on the ADA, anybody with other knowledge can correct me, but there was nothing in it that specifically addressed handicap parking in front of somebody's house.
I mean, let me, I guess, I'm being a little tight-lipped here because it's coming from every direction, but let me say that as I'm processing this, I think that the most significant utterance from tonight is Chief Aggress's observation regarding the alternate parking situation, and I suppose I need to think that through, perhaps consult with NICOM and see how some other similarly situated municipalities deal with that situation. That's a very valid point, I think. It might point to reasons why a policy has not existed all of these years.
Well, I think this is, it's good, like, this is why I wanted to bring it up this way, so that everybody, like, that we could do our due diligence and the research of it. I think we often avoid creating these policies because, like, there is a complication to it, but I think it just makes it, I'd rather do something like this now when it's not a huge issue than if it somehow became, and maybe this one probably wouldn't, but like, you never know.
Mayor, what's your take?
I've listened to everything and they're all valid points and the only situation that I'm concerned about is we have for instance, a downtown proprietor who wants to park in front of her store, who, if she does have a handicap sticker, would that qualify for this type of thing? But I'm listening to I think it's a good idea. I think it's people have this request. I think it's a valid request. If other communities are doing it, I think we try to come up with a way to do it. But addressing all these questions is not, something it's something we have to do in order to do it, right?
Is it an option to reserve it just for the pickup and drop off situations for a handicapped individual, right?
I don't think that's what we're talking about.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
It might be something we wind up even, like the colors there of the different density neighborhoods in the different zones. So like eliminate downtown, the downtown corridor of when you write the policy.
Right.
If you do it, so, okay, yes, it's for our residential, our R1s and R2s.
I mean, you're kind of,
Because I think we do have,
Chief, you're
we
reading,
have to have a certain number down there
You're-
already.
that's kind of where, in line with where my thoughts are. I'm
Yeah.
just not, I suppose I'm not ready to.
Speaking of, I get you, and just real quick, does anyone know Gloversville, you can't park on the street after like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night, right? So they only did that during the day and then they still have to be removed?
I think it's a citywide, on all sides of the street from November to April
For
1st.
snow.
Okay,
We
so it's just a snow thing, they make them remove them for the,
Right.
same we do alternate, they just say no parking on the
No
street.
parking at all.
But they're not looking to park there all the time, or
In
they're
this case, no, right?
just looking to have someone be able to stop
Yeah, be able
there.
to stop and unload.
The next one will.
I shouldn't
The
say.
next one will.
Depart.
You can almost guarantee that the next one will be different than this.
Yes.
Just-
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Which is why I
There'll
thought,
be a
like,
variety of issues.
Why would, if you're like, oh, well, I live on a busy street
Yeah.
and it's always hard to find parking. But if you have access to a driveway or things like that,
Right.
you wouldn't.
That's
You know,
only
so somebody's gotta
if they're
go
a
through that process.
homeowner, but if they're a renter and their landlord tells them they can't use the driveway,
Right.
then,
Those are all issues that
Yeah.
need to be addressed.
so I think if we come up with all different
It's
scenarios
not cut
of
and
what
dry. I wish it was.
could and couldn't happen.
Are we gonna ask them for proof that they have a vehicle? I mean, same thing. What if it's just a friend who's picking them up?
Right.
You can get into a
Well, like,
lot of different things.
there's an element of an honor system as well.
Yeah.
It's all gotta be factored in.
I will investigate and report back to all of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
so why don't
you.
we leave it at that?
Thank you for all sharing your thoughts. If you have more thoughts or concerns,
Thank you
send
for
them our
bringing it
way.
up, Kelly.
Thanks.
No,
I think it's a great conversation to have. Mayor, we have 5 minutes. Do you want to talk or you want Mike to?
I always would rather have Mike talk than hear me talk. So Michael, if you'd like to start, you do so, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure I can fill the 5 minutes. So, as you know, we're ramping up for paving now. Been a lot of public interest every year. Where folks, are taking stock of the pothole situation, which, you know, we do our best to knock down. We're working, we have a crew that's doing it 2 or 3 days a week, depending on how many other paving repairs we have to make. But I think what gets lost in it is that the ultimate cure to the pothole situation is what we've been doing, and that's to pave as many miles of street a year as we can. And everybody knows that, you know, the city's been fortunate in that our CHIPS allocation has gone up by about 3.5 times over the course of the last 4 years, which is it's a great thing. I mean, in 2000, we were at just shy of $700,000 total between all the funds for CHIPS. And now this year, we're at just about $2.25 million. So we're obviously able to do more of it, you know. So I just pulled up, and my staff pulled up some numbers from the previous years, just to give folks an idea. You know, in 2020, you can see that the total amount spent was $867,000. And I have the mileage for that year and the number of sidewalks. It varies year to year. Sometimes the mileage doesn't seem in line with what's spent. And there's a good reason for that, because remember, we're just measuring things on centerline miles. And, you know, in some areas of the city, the streets are 22 to 24 feet wide, and in some sections of the city, like Guy Park and Division, you have multiple blocks where they're 40 plus feet wide. So obviously that takes a lot more paving effort.
Excuse me, Mike, you said in 2000, the budget was 700,000. Did you mean 2020?
In 2020, it
In
was
2020, it was
867.
700,000.
No, it was 867,000.
Okay.
All right, Mike?
And then it went to over 2 million now, just in 5 years?
2.32.
We're at 2.29 for this year, this state fiscal year. And when we began in 6 years ago, 6 seasons ago now, we were at actually right just below 700,000 for our annual allocation. You know, they've added additional funds, not the least of which has been the state touring routes number, which is intended to provide cities with a way to address heavily traveled roads, like Market Street, like Church Street, like pieces of West Main Street. And that allocation for just the state touring use for this year is just a few dollars short of 1.1 million. So it's a big number. And, you know, this year we're gonna put it to good use, because we're gearing up to get the contractor mobilized to do the lower half of Market Street from Prospect, as you know, to the north side of the intersection of Van Dyke.
Michael, I'm gonna interrupt you. We'll
Yep,
go
6
into
o'clock.
session and then you can,
Pardon me?
we'll go into
Oh, yeah,
session.
sure.
Please stand for our pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderwoman Quistamars,
Here.
Alderman Holliday.
Here.
Alderwoman Collins. Alderman Marticello. Alderman Carpenter.
Here. Make a motion to adopt the agenda with 4 resolutions and 2 consents.
Alderman Carpenter.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
I do have one proclamation tonight to read through. I was at a ceremony recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Office for Aging. Alderwoman Kelly Quist-Kamaz was with me. 50 years is a long time, and the Office for the Aging has been an outstanding organization, so we put together a resolution, which I'd like to read as part of the record. Whereas roughly 1 out of every 6 residents in the city of Amsterdam have reached or passed the age of 65, and whereas the city of Amsterdam strives to be a place where our eldest citizens can enjoy a healthy and robust quality of life and can find the encouragement, acceptance, assistance, and service they need to continue to lead lives of independence and dignity. And whereas in 1975, the Montgomery County Office for Aging came into existence to serve older Montgomery County citizens and their families by helping them to maintain their independence, dignity, and quality of life. And whereas OFA accomplishes this mission by finding and filling critical gaps in the abilities of the elderly as they age, so that they can maintain their nutrition, their health, their access to transportation, legal guidance, and companionship. And whereas the success of OFA has been navigated through a half-century of obstacles, crisis, and ongoing challenges by the efforts of an outstanding staff, and fueled via a legacy of active passion and caring community volunteerism. And by so doing, OFA has become one of the most respected members and most powerful community voices and advocates for making Amsterdam a better place to live and a place where citizens can age more gracefully with renewed and invigorated purpose. And whereas on the occasion of its 50th year of service in the city as one of this community's most important and effective social service organizations, it is fitting and necessary that this outstanding organization be recognized and honored for all it has done for the elderly, past and present, of our beloved Amsterdam. Now, therefore, I, Michael Sinquani, Mayor of the City of Amsterdam, do hereby designate Tuesday, July 1st, 2025 as Montgomery County Office for Aging Day here in our city, and I urge our entire community symbolically cooperate in its observance by doing something kind for an aging family member, neighbor, friend, or stranger. I also urge residents and businesses of our city, if possible, to support OFA with a donation of time or money to help this wonderful organization continue its mission of making a positive impact on the lives of Amsterdam's cherished senior citizens. So I read that today I didn't read this, that's why I wanted to get it into record. I just gave it to him because it was pouring rain and everybody was soaked. So I wanted to I'll give you a copy of that. And again, we did the 40th anniversary of Inman's last week and the 50th anniversary of OFA, 2 outstanding organizations that really do a lot for the elderly in our community. And it was an honor to be invited to both. Okay, next on the agenda is communications and presentations. So if anyone in the audience would like to speak, now would be the time to do so. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. We don't have any communications or presentations. So now, public participation is the time to come forward and state your name.
John Archett with for over 18 Austin Street, senior citizen.
Happy
Mayor,
anniversary.
yeah. Mayor, when people have home improvements, I might have brought this up before, it seems like we're getting penalized because we pay more in taxes. Now, when you and maybe some of the other ones talk to, say, Angelo Santa Barbara, Fahey, there's a few out there, Angelo Santa Barbara, I think that should be changed. I think that we should have like a flat rate tax, flat tax, where everybody pays the same, not just in the city, but the city, county, and the school. Everybody pays the same in taxes, because if you live in a livable slum, you're getting the protection of the police department, the fire department, you're getting your garbage picked up, and the people that are putting money into their homes are being penalized. And I don't think that that's right. And that's been going on for a long time. I can remember when I first started paying taxes, I don't think my parents put 30 cents into the house, and I know I put in over 30,000 into the house that I own. And yet taxes keep on going up, and like that, the fees going up, and it's like you're penalized. Now, later on, if you want to sell the home, if I sell the home, maybe that, I'll do all right, probably. But I don't think it should be that way as far as taxes are concerned. And I think that if everybody pays the same regardless of the home that they live in, that would be better for the taxpayer than the person who puts in money into their home and is actually being penalized. So I actually left a message with Fahey, and I mentioned that, and the person that works in the office says they never heard of a flat tax like that. And I think, like I says, I don't know if I ever brought that up with you, but I think I might have brought it up in other past
That'd be a tough
administrations.
sell, but I hear you. It would be a tough sell, but yes.
Okay, but I
hear what
mean,
you're saying.
it doesn't make much sense that the person who puts money into.
I don't wanna get, but we don't raise your assessment when you make home improvements. It's not the case. Sometimes we do, if the home improvement is a significant home improvement. Let's say you put a furnace in, your assessment doesn't go up. You do things to your house to, your
Well,
assessment
still,
doesn't go
the
up.
cost of things for the
The
individual.
property tax rate goes up, which is why, and the fees go up, which is why you pay more taxes, but it's not based upon, most of the time, you making improvements to your home.
If I may
Go ahead, sir.
supplement that, Mayor, if you make a capital improvement to your property that results in an increase in your tax assessment, there's a real property tax exemption you can apply for under Real Property Tax Law, Section 421-F. Take a look at it, Chad.
And you have very sound rationale. Why should we make improvements to it? Why should we be penalized for making improvements to our property, which is why what Tony's talking about, they do exist. If in case your assessment did go up, that would apply to you. You
And
could,
it allows you to exempt the improved portion of the tax assessment over a 9-year
Well,
period.
it affects your assessment.
It's a sliding scale.
Yeah, it affects your assessment. So I mean, like I says, if you live in a
Yeah.
dump, you don't pay that much and you're getting the same protection as somebody who's paying a lot more. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is, I want to talk about the 1960s. Stacy says, what are you bringing up I know, she doesn't remember the 1960s, but they had,
Me either,
I don't
Chad, me
remember
either.
1960s.
oh, you either. Yeah,
I'd like it
okay.
to go on record.
So, they had these things, Mayor, RUP mini bikes, R-U-P-P.
I remember.
Okay, I had one of them, I had a 3.5 horsepower,
I always
Bike.
wanted one, my mother wouldn't buy it for me. so
yeah,
you're
my
lucky.
father said you can have that, but no motorcycle. But he said that, so I got that, some had a 5 horsepower, and we had one officer of the law that always used to stop me, and I can remember as a kid, I think I was like 11, 12, always stopped me and others. I can remember his name to this day. And, but I bring this up because now you got EV bikes. And so my understanding, some of them go like 25, 30 miles per hour. A lot of these people, whether they're younger and older, they don't wear no helmets or anything. And I was kind of thought that maybe something should be done, at least said that you should wear a helmet or something like that. Of course, I don't know why they can get away with certain things, why that's allowed. And in Amsterdam, back in the 1960s, the police department would always stop me all the time.
You were just ahead of your time.
Yeah,
You were just ahead of your
just
time.
ahead of my time or
Yeah.
something like that. So I think something should be,
Yeah,
I think you should be, there are like little kids that are on our street that have helmets on and they got those real like little bikes or something. But at least the parents say, and now you can go 25 or so, 30 miles an hour on those EVs and not wear helmets. Nobody says anything. I think something should be done and if you're going down the street not wearing a helmet and the police sees them or something, maybe they should be stopped or something, or warned or something about that. Okay.
Thank you, Chad.
Chief Spencer, do you have any ideas? 'Cause I do get that question myself.
And
I-
there's running stop signs,
Let's-
that's
let's
gonna get run
address that.
over.
Yeah.
Scary.
There is very much so HR and guidelines put out by the Department of Transportation, New York State. You're correct. It goes by the miles per hour. It gives it a class. So anything that can go above 35 is a certain class. If it goes 35 or more, it's subject to all the vehicle and traffic laws of the state of New York. It's gotta be registered, it's gotta have insurance. While they're operating in the roadway, they have to yield the right of way, they have to stay to the right, all those things. Anything less than, I believe, 35 is the threshold, is a different class, and it's not necessarily a bicycle, but the lower ones, the ones that only go 5 and 10, they have to adhere to the bicycle laws that are in the vehicle and traffic code, which is wear a helmet, have a light, have a bell.
Wear a helmet for age.
Ages, I
Yeah.
believe, is 16 and under. But don't fact check me on that, it's somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think
There's
adults
an
don't.
age limit.
There's an age
Yeah.
limit.
I thought it was 12. He thinks it's 16.
Okay, well, I don't think anybody's really going by, I'm not saying
I
everybody,
can tell
but
you,
there
you can rest assured, Chet, our office has issued many tickets
from all those different sections.
Okay, we need the money. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Wait a minute,
I
Chad.
saw,
Thank you, Chad.
I saw a family of four on a scooter the other night, I couldn't believe it. It was like the
He said
Melendez, the great
5
Melendez.
miles an hour. They're so-
All right, Mike?
Back to me?
Yes, sir.
All right, as I mentioned, we're gearing up to get the paving program rolling. We previously talked about the Crescent Ave Bridge. It's not gonna impact the baseball schedule for Mohawks this year. That's a good thing. It's gonna begin late fall. Also, streetlight replacement project, the original contract is substantially complete. There's punch list items underway, which means that the few mechanical or mechanical electrical issues that were identified, those are being repaired, and the additional items of work that we authorized within the contract.
Which is vets, right?
Poles, those are beginning now. The good thing is we are still within our budget. We're actually under.
Are they beginning it now, Mike? Or-
They just got delivered, so I know
Okay.
they were a long lead time item on that.
Okay,
Also, you mentioned the resolution consent. Thank you for putting that on for the demolition. I have to ask because I wrote that in a hurry. Does it say 1 million or 1.5 million? You should know that. but I-
Says 1.5.
1.5.
1.5.
That's incorrect. The fund, we are funded at $1.0 million through the Community Development Block Grant. That's
Better pass that
So it's
down.
$1 million.
1.
For demo?
Pass that
That's
down.
my
We need
poor
another
typing.
500,000.
All right.
It's 1.5
So-
for the
So we need
lead.
to have an
So that's
amendment.
why.
Right, that's what it was.
Yeah, so in your head, you were thinking that.
I'll make an amendment, Mike, to change it to $1
And I
million.
just wanted to say with that project, there's 23 properties that I'm including in it. The way I'm gonna bid that, and the way I have the documents written is obviously one bid per property. And it's written so that the city will essentially select them à la carte. And that we will stay within, based on our budget, right? So if numbers come in good and we can do all 23, then great, we can do all 23. If the combination of all the properties and the low bid exceed that, then we have the option of paring it back and selecting the ones that we prefer to get done for that 1.0 million.
Right.
So,
We also have, what, 5 from Land Bank coming down?
5 from Land Bank, they're supposed to be starting any day on those.
In addition to the 23.
In addition to the,
Separate,
hopefully
yes.
23, right?
Yes, totally separate.
Yes. So, a lot of bad stuff coming down. And houses like the Pink House getting fixed, so we continue to improve the landscape of our city. And is that it, Mike? Are you all set? You didn't talk, you have a note here about the boardwalk.
That work continues.
That's gonna be the middle section, which is now missing. That's gonna be the next
That's,
big chunk.
that's the piece that's gonna go on here very shortly. The subcontractor is mobilizing and bringing all the pieces and parts and equipment and everything from, actually from Tampa, Florida.
Could you also give us an update on Esperanza?
Yes, so they need tomorrow, I believe they're supposed to pour the second section of concrete within the slab, or with the second section of concrete slab within the park. And the third piece will be the stamped concrete.
And that's gonna happen next week, correct?
It's gonna happen next week, yes.
They did start to put the anchor fence in today, I understand. And they're gonna continue putting fence in that areas where the concrete doesn't have an impact. They're gonna put the old bridge fence up in sections, correct?
That's the
They're starting
intent,
there.
is to bring that,
So the end result will be a park which will be probably half surrounded by the bridge fence. And the anchor fence will go along all the areas which were highly elevated by,
in the back.
In the back.
In the fill section.
but it's gonna be a black fence as well. So I think it's gonna look really sharp. It's gonna be very safe. It's just taken us a while to get this all done, but the faster we go, the better we off will be. Thank you, Mike. Any other questions for the engineer? Okay, so that brings us to Any old business? Okay, so we are into the resolutions.
Resolution 2526-1, resolution adopting minutes from last common council meeting by Alderman Carpenter.
So moved. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Alderman Carpenter.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Resolution 2526-2, resolution authorizing loan agreement with the New York State Military and Naval Affairs Military Museum and Veterans Research Center by Alderman Holliday. Whereas, for many years, the city of Amsterdam has proudly displayed at City Hall a bronze plaque owned by the New York State Military and Naval Affairs Military Museum and Veterans Research Center. Said plaque, known as 1917 through 1919 Amsterdam Men Who Served with the 27th Division, catalog number CM.2020.0046. And whereas the city is desirous to renew its loan agreement with Military Museum and Veteran Research Center, providing that the city maintain $20,000 for the plaque. And whereas the term of loan agreement being June 2nd, 2025 through June 2nd, 2030. And
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to make an amendment, or excuse me,
Yeah.
to amend it, the second whereas, maintain $20,000 and it should say insurance coverage
Mhm.
between 20,000 and 4. I just wanted to let you read it and then, I don't know, I was gonna say it then.
So on the amendment,
I got it right here.
okay.
So we're gonna do that. So I'll call roll on the amendment.
Yes.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Alderman Carpenter.
Aye.
Okay, you can just read
Are you gonna make a motion for that?
I am, yeah.
this whereas. And,
You want me to finish it out?
Do we need her to read that?
You
amended?
reread that one?
Only if you want? No.
No, you don't have
No,
to,
you
as long as
can-
we all understand that it's for insurance.
Say the magic word, that's so moved.
Yes, well, she has one more whereas to read, and I would hate to cut her off early.
Whereas a copy of the agreement being
yeah,
attached hereto. Now therefore be it hereby authorized, the attached loan agreement is hereby authorized.
So moved. Any questions, guys? Okay, call the roll, please.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Alderman Carpenter.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing equipment lease agreement with Cranesville Properties LLC by Alderwoman Collins. Whereas the city of Amsterdam being desirous to lease from Cranesville Properties LLC certain equipment for the use at the Riverlink Cafe, namely the following equipment: 60-inch propane griddle, 72-inch chef base refrigerator, 60-inch prep cooler, 4-burner stovetop, and double convection oven performance cooking group. Whereas the lease agreement contemplates a 1-year duration commencing June 9th, 2025 at an annual cost to the city in the amount of $1,500, with the agreement being subject to cancellation by either party upon 60 days written notice. And, okay.
So, any discussion?
No.
Call the roll.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Alderman Carpenter.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Resolution 2526-4, resolution approving audit.
So moved. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Alderman Carpenter.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Resolution 2526-5, consent resolution authorizing the city clerk to advertise for bids for the 2025 demolition project. By Alderman Carpenter.
So moved. Read the resolution, then we'll make the amendment.
Whereas the city of Amsterdam has received a $1.5 million community development block grant for the demolition of dilapidated buildings owned by the city. And whereas the city has established a list of properties given below for demolition in this project. And whereas the city has declared the addresses below as unsafe. And whereas the city intends to award as many of the properties listed as possible with the confines of the project budget, and whereas the city engineer has prepared bid documents for said project. Now therefore be it resolved that the city clerk is authorized to advertise publicly for bids for the 2025 demolition program.
In the first whereas, I would like to make an amendment to change the city of Amsterdam has received $1.5 million to the city of Amsterdam has received $1 million
On the amendment,
on the amendment. Please call the roll.
Alderman Carpenter.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Okay, now make the call roll on the resolution itself.
Alderman Carpenter.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Resolution 2526-6, consent resolution to renew property and liability insurance Gallagher by Alderman Carpenter. Whereas insurance safeguards the city from incurring a substantial cost from losses related to property damage and liability, and whereas the city of Amsterdam has property and liability insurance policies with New York Municipal Reciprocal and Arch Insurance Company that require renewal on an annual basis. Whereas Gallagher is the broker of record for the city's property and liability coverage. Now therefore be it resolved, the mayor is authorized to sign agreements with New York State Municipal Insurance Reciprocal and Arch Insurance Company for property and casualty insurance effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for an amount not to exceed $708,168.
So moved.
any questions?
Any questions? Call the roll.
Alderman Carpenter.
Aye.
Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
At this time, I'd like to make going to
Just one
make a
thing,
motion
Dan
for-
Gray, did you want to say anything tonight? Did you have anything to talk to the council about? I saw you sitting there, I wasn't sure if you wanted to present anything to the council.
No.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Under Public Officers Law, Section 105, Sub 1, Sub D, regarding discussions regarding proposed pending and current litigation, please.
Alderman Carpenter. Alderwoman Quistamars.
Aye.
Alderman Holliday.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
Aye.
Just gonna fill my water.
Can you get the door?